Captain's Log, still stuck in the 21st century. This is Star Trek Discovery Pod, a sometimes smart, sometimes funny podcast covering new and classic Trek. I'm going to win this game of Caldo. Calto. I cannot read, y'all. I've been working all day.
It's your notes too.
I know. I read it. I flipped the words. I am your Captain Myrriah Gossett. With me on the view screen, we have some very chatty Cathys.
Clyde Haynes. Hey, moral dilemma, schmoral schmimma.
Your positronic buddy, Paul Lorsatachi.
Pew, pew, pew. We are reviewing and discussing the 7th episode of the final season of Star Trek Picard.
Maybe we should just start over and play the intro music again.
I did great.
You're good, Paul.
We're letting it ride, y'all. We're letting it ride. We all can't be perfect. We're all not positronic beings. And even we are seeing in this episode, they are not perfect either. So, again, we're covering Dominion, which was written by Jen Maggs, directed by Deborah Campier. And we have a couple of reminders before we dig into this episode. Paul, how can listeners find us or share this podcast with their friends?
Hey, our podcast is on Apple, Spotify, YouTube. Please subscribe. All links are at StarTrekPod.co. And if you love our content and you'd like to support us, maybe consider joining our Patreon for just $2 per episode at patreon.com/StarTrekPod. Boom. 2 for 2, guys. 2 for 2.
You're going to jinx yourself now, Paul. Don't get too excited. Clyde, how can people interact if they are watching us live on YouTube tonight?
If you're watching us live on YouTube tonight and you want to participate in our show, you've got a thought, comment, a question you want us to read or at least look through online, then all you have to do is type capital P, capital O, capital D, capital pod in the chat, and that'll let us know to take a look at your comment. And in that special moment here in a moment when you want to gather your thoughts and give us your fresh nuggets on the show, then just type capital H, capital F, capital HF in the chat, and we'll take a look at your thoughts.
Indeed. And with that said, I do believe it is time for some
Hot Freaks! Hot Freaks!
It's time for some hot freaks, even though we didn't have any freaks in this episode. That was a Frakeless ep.
Well, there was a moment of like a fake frakes.
Yes, we did get a fake frakes. A very dead looking fake frakes. Yeah. But I think I'll go first just because it's real quick. I feel like this is it was jam-packed with a lot of information, jam-packed with some fun action sequences. So far, not my favorite episode of the season. Hard to say, but I overall enjoyed watching it. So I feel like that is my hot freak, and I'll dive into more feelings later. But Paul, what did you think about this episode?
I felt like this was a thankless episode. That's a lot of things had to happen. I think that I don't know if everything made sense, and I'll go into that as we continue. But it too was not my favorite episode of the season. But I recognize that people were trying.
Yeah. Well, I have a lot of complicated feelings, but Clyde, thoughts?
Well, I thought that this was an episode that set out to answer some questions. And so I think we got a little bit of understanding of what is this conflict about? And so we got some backstory there. And to understand who Vedic is and why, I feel like that moved the plot a little bit. There were some chase scenes. I think the plan was bad. I think it was a very bad plan. I don't know why I'm surprised Shaw went along with it. I would have liked to see the explanation of I have a plan, and Shaw goes, that's the craziest, kookiest, outlandish thing I've ever seen. But we got a little bit, listen, at the end of the day, this is a show that is great for the cameos and the throwback and the nostalgia. So if you're rating this, as long as you have one of those at somewhere in the show, your rating is going to start out with at least a B. And we start the show off with some Tuvok. So
yeah,
love that.
Yoon really wraps this up for us. It was great seeing fake Captain Tuvok, but I left the episode feeling very confused.
Wait. How did we know that Tuvok was fake?
Oh, he said it. He admitted it.
And then he transformed into Frakes.
Right.
Fake Tuvok became old, creepy, fake Frakes.
Yeah. And then I feel like Chupi kind of puts a lot of my feelings together. My least favorite, I'm so confused, but I was not bored. That is it. No. I think I was like, I'm not bored. I'm a little confused. I liked some backstory, but I've left with maybe possibly more questions than I got answers.
Sure.
So yeah, that was some hot Frakes right there. But I feel like we have to start. It was so nice to see Tim Russ back on our screens. I so enjoyed seeing Tuvok. I felt a little like emotionally manipulated when I got some Voyager
the music cue.
I was like, it's happening. And then I was like, no, you're not real.
It was funny because when I heard the cue, I go, ooh, Myrriah is like gonna go, Lee.
I was so excited and then so devastated.
Yeah. I would say the music for this season is so on point.
Oh,
it's so on point. It's so good.
Truly. And I think that's where, I always like starting with like things that I loved this episode. The fight choreo was great. I thought the music always is amazing. We got some like kind of updated, I feel like bad rogue costumery going on the rest of the crew this ep, which I also enjoyed. And I feel like Amanda Plummer is just giving me like everything I want in just a ridiculous villain with purpose. So I think I'd love to start with Vedic and like, what did y'all think of the backstory we've gotten? Because that was sort of our big reveal this episode, right? Is how these particular changelings came to be, right? So what did y'all think of Vedic's backstory?
Clyde Haynes, you go first because I have thoughts.
It felt, how do I say it? Appropriate, right? Like Myrriah, last week you talked about getting this sense of, in Star Trek, we've always had something that reflects kind of what's going on in the political, socioeconomical kind of meta world that we exist in. And you mentioned that you hadn't really felt where that was pulling from yet. And here we get this question of kind of bringing us back to this idea of not even just morality, but like understanding the other side. Like you look at this and, it's very easy to go, wow, this is the big bad, this is the enemy. And then you look at the fact that what they went through, right? Like this torture, this testing, and you go, okay, now I kind of understand. And yeah, it wasn't specifically at the hands of, JL or anyone, but that was interesting. And it was like, okay, so for me, I think a great villain has a why, right? I'm not really into the villains that are just sadistic for the sake of being sadistic. That to me sometimes is a bit when I want to watch a Western. But this is a little, I view Star Trek less as a space Western and more of a space opera. And so in a space opera, I'm looking for, I want to understand why my villains are my villains. And I got that. And so I that was probably one of the pieces of the kind of this episode that I enjoyed the most was understanding Vedic's kind of backstory. And then I was a little bit confused because we still don't know who's pulling the strings.
Yeah. I think to me, that's still like my biggest question because I understand her motivation for disliking Starfleet, right? Like I can see why she has this disdain, but the focusedness on Picard and Jack Crusher, I still have like way more questions than I do answers. But Paul, I wanted to get your thoughts on Vedic first before we move on.
So I suppose you have to understand that, like, once again, as every episode I say, DS9 is my favorite, blah, blah, blah. It's the best storytelling, blah, blah, blah. And like I've gotten to know a few changelings, and so like, so imagine taking a changeling and torturing them and blah blah blah, and then they become Vedic. But like, what I don't really understand is like, why would the changeling Vedic take all these little quirks that are so solidy stuff, like smoking?
Yeah.
It doesn't really fit what I understand a changeling would do, even even if like they were tortured, So there's this part of me that gets a little frustrated where I go like, you had a great character, and now you're trying to come up with a backstory to explain that character, and like it just wasn't so Tetrising up as the way it should. Like it didn't. Her origins did not make me feel like this was the appropriate person that would come about. From what I understand of changelings, like this is real deep track type stuff, right? Like,
yeah. I mean, I do wonder. Sorry, Clyde. I do wonder if it's like things that she picked up from her torturer, and it's like a weird way to like reclaim these things. I also wonder if it's a choice by Amanda Plummer to have her smoke, and that's just something they've had to like.
Yeah, which I think is great. Like I think the smoking is great. I just wish that I could see, the character's pain reflected in Amanda Plummer's performance in an integrated way, as opposed to being actor choices and like moment choices versus like character choices. So I don't know if that's an easy thing to do, especially I don't know how they've mapped out the season and stuff. It's just like then I'm going like, well, if there are only 9 changelings, which she throws in, like I feel like I've seen 9 changelings get shot. so there, you could make the argument that there was a rogue group of changelings, and Amanda Plummer like transformed these changelings. You have a bunch more, which is fine, but it's just confusing in that way. A lot of things were put in. Like I don't know why the changelings are in like bad guy outfits now. Like why are they in the owly body mask and stuff? Like it doesn't. But she isn't. Like it's a lot of things just don't feel like integrated in a way that I would like. Whereas everything up till then seems to be within its world. Does that make sense?
Clyde, what were you gonna? Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just trying to synthesize what Paul was saying, and I think it's somewhat appropriate. Like you've got this, what I think is a fairly solid backstory, and then you've got this villain, right? And when you put those together, it didn't quite seem to fit. Is that what you're saying, Paul? Like
a little bit, the
backstory in his own was fine, and the villain is fine, but it didn't seem like it
integrated.
Quite, the integration of
it's almost like there's a partition between the backstory and the and the performance. That's right, and they're fighting, and like we need to take that partition out and see. I don't know.
So speaking of partition, I gotta say, if we're talking about the episode, and I was really looking for moments in the episode that I really, really enjoyed. Under no circumstances can you cavalierly connect lore to any system on your ship. And I'm a little bit annoyed because I'm thinking, man, last season we did this already. We connected the Borg Queen to the ship. And ultimately what happened was the Borg Queen took over the ship.
Well, no.
Why are you surprised that Lore did it too?
Ultimately, like what happened, everything worked out fine.
But did it? I mean, I think Chupi in the chat pointed out earlier that like truly the plan would have worked if they didn't connect Lore to the computer, because Lore is the one who screwed everything up.
At which point I go, what was Amanda Plummer's plan? What was Vedic's plan that she was so calm singing in the hermetically sealed force field?
I mean, perhaps it's like it's like I think this episode for me it will greatly depend on what next week brings, because if it is to the point where like Vedic knew they were going to go to Daystrom and take data lore and like kind of knew that this would be like the circle of crap that was going to happen, well, it could have gone that way. But
and they know, because like Riker is a prisoner there, right? She was there when lore was taken,
right?
So she knows that. So but here's where once again I don't want to be that guy, because like I can, like I said, I see that the hardest
be that guy, be that guy.
But this encapsulates how I feel like not focused the episode was. It's when Beverly and Jean-Luc and whoever was in the room go like, why would they want your body? Because they need to do. They're going to make a perfect clone of me for Federation Day, and like with between Jack's blood and my DNA, blah blah. Everyone knows you're dead. You're in a positronic body. There's no genetic blah blah blah. It's not going to happen.
I think there's something else. I don't think it's that simple. I hope it's not that simple.
I hope it's not that answer, because to me that was such a like, let's toss this up and like quickly hit it away, please. Like,
yeah, but like they wouldn't come up with that. Like everyone knows that that Jean-Luc Picard is dead, that this is a robot. There's not going to be a genetic scan because he's a robot.
I mean, I guess then they would determine that he is a robot, and it would be a bigger red flag if it was a real body that came through.
So their solution can't be what, just like this with a little investigation, it can't be that.
Yeah.
So either I'm misunderstanding something, or, once again, like it's
got to be something deeper. I firmly believe that it's something deeper.
I did want to talk a bit about Jack, because to me, I think the most frustrating thing is I don't understand why he's not telling everyone what he's seeing and what's happening. This whole like, I'm hearing things, but like you're not telling them what you're hearing or seeing. And like now you can mind meld with Sydney and tell her what to do, which I thought was a really cool fight sequence. Mm-hmm. But I was like, what is this connection, and how is like my biggest question is, the only clue we've gotten thus far is that when he was a kid he used to have nightmares, and so I'm like, was this child swapped out for another child at that point, and this is not actually Jack Crusher?
Sure.
Or has something happened in this recent chase sequence of events that have been going on to where this is also not actually Jack Crusher? Because I was like, this is a very long amount of time to go between these potential vision moments. Or is there something that needs to be near him for this to happen, and now they're close to it? Is it being around his dad? It's like, I need to know.
I need to know.
Myrriah, I'm with you. I think what's making me a little nervous is timeline, right? Because here's the thing. We are now done with 7 episodes. There are 3 remaining. Mm-hmm. And I know nothing. And so what worries me is that we're going to get the resolution to what's wrong with Jack too fast.
Sure. Yeah.
Right? That's what's scaring me just a little bit. And I kind of feel like I need time to process. Gotcha. I want to really understand like how this happened, and then see what the resolution is. So I was really kind of hoping that we might get it in this episode, or get pieces of it, or understand. And I feel like what it is like, not only did we not get pieces of it, we have no more understanding than we have, but now he can read minds, talk to people in their mind. Like, just I'm even more confused.
Well, to be fair, like, like when I have that power, when I do that, I don't tell people that I can like read minds and make people do things. You don't just tell people that. But but with that really just fell flat. Oh my God, I'm so sorry, everyone. I'm so sorry. But like, but with that said, like, it seems like throughout the whole thing, right? One thing that we've been consistent with, like, why are you causing more problems than you need to? Like, people are hunting you down, all this stuff, and you choose to make it more like Beverly knows, like, her son just like vaporized, like, 4 people, and he didn't know they were like, changelings. Gonna tell anyone? Nope.
Yeah, it just seems like if he is someone who, like, he is also a doctor, right? And so what's the most powerful information you can use if you're trying to diagnose as a doctor is like the full explanation of what is happening to the patient, right? And I can understand that. And I feel like Ed Spielers is really, he is giving it his all with what he has been given. And I just wish they would give him more to play with.
He's actually doing great.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I think they do well in this episode as like playing the aromatic syndrome. Like, you know, once again, like Data goes like there was an anomaly in Jean-Luc Picard, and you know, and that Jack has that, so they keep on bringing that into play, and then it goes like that anomaly might not even been aromatic syndrome, so like, so I assume that this has something to do with that because brain, but like,
I do wonder if, and it might be a bit of a reach, but I have a hope, and I know it seems messy, but I have a hope that the Borg actually do come back into play a bit, because we have been in and around the Borg conversation, specifically around Locutus of Borg, specifically with Picard's guilt about everything. We now have all of these character tie-ins to Wolf 359, and I feel like it would do justice to the entire series if they came back in some way. And it is, the anomaly is because of the Borg situation, and these magical powers that Jack has is somehow related to being an offspring of a Borg.
To go with that, you know, Picard is like, to my knowledge, the only person who just kind of broke free of the Borg. Like everyone, you know, like so, like it could be this brain thing that he has that helped him that. So like, you know, it's not that he, you know, like with Data's help, mind you, but like, but like I there isn't like, you know, like otherwise like he was still connected to the Borg and broke free of the Borg, as opposed to Seven of Nine, who was severed from the Borg.
Right.
So like, so it might be a brain thing. Like, you know, this might be the thing that this could be the reason why he was Locutus versus like.
True.
Versus like what, you know,
12 of 17 or whatever.
Exactly. So who knows? Like, you know, like I'm fine with like the waiting on that. I'm not fine with it. I understand why it's there, but like, you know, that hasn't pissed me off yet. I'm like, okay, you're gonna wait, and then, but the longer that you wait, the more like that you know, that the wristman or person has to be something really. Like I have to go, oh my God, that was worth it.
See, Paul, you bring up a really good point with that, because we've been down this road before with this particular show, where there's been this buildup and we said, oh, the payoff's going to be there. I don't give this particular franchise the benefit of the doubt right now, so I'm a little bit more skeptical. Now, that being said, everything that you guys have said, I'm for, right? If the payoff is this is a tie-in to his time as Locutus, that works for me. That ties up the puzzle for me. If you can explain this aromatic syndrome plus him being a Borg, that changing and kind of morphing into something else, mutating into something else, and then, you know, through the magic of conception, that is passed on to Jack, and he is somehow special, and he is like that. That might work for me.
Let's play a little game. Just a mini game, side adventure. Who could be behind the red door, or you know, whatever? Like, you know, like that.
I think you know the answer to this question, Paul. It's Peanut Hamper. Peanut Hamper's behind the red door. You're welcome.
This time I was waiting on it. And that's mainly because of Steven. So.
But like, you know, but like what, like I was playing this game. I'm going like, who would I not be pissed off at? Because if it's someone new I've never seen before, I'm gonna go like, ugh. Like, and the last time I felt this way, like in a real main way, was like when I watched the movie Arrival. Because I was watching Arrival and I go, okay, this is good, but it's really boring now. I don't know if I want to see aliens learn English or humans learn space language. And so it better end well. It's better like a super landing. And it did.
Yeah.
So I
wonder if it's who's behind the red door. So I feel like we've heard majority, I'd say, a more feminine voice to be coming through that door.
Sure.
I do wonder if it's going to be a Borg queen. I would not be upset about a Borg queen behind the door. I also wouldn't be. It could be interesting if it's just an alt universe Beverly in a weird. I don't know how to explain that, but that could be a way. Or it's
Gul Dukat.
If it were Gul Dukat, I would love that. I'm a big Gul Dukat fan.
Who else? Oh, I mean, it could also be the other Crusher kid, and maybe it's a time travel thing. Wesley, yeah.
Wesley already came.
I've been wondering if we were going to see some type of Wesley tie-in at some point, something, because he's mentioned, which I appreciate. Like, let's not pretend he doesn't exist. But I don't know.
Yeah, I got nothing. I got even Locutus, even the Borg. It seems so obvious that that's the only thing that can work right now. So I'm kind of wanting something inevitable.
I wonder if it is instead perhaps the voices of these like detached changelings or something. Yeah. And because he can maybe he can link their two pools and they can all be one again or something.
Maybe.
I did think it was a interesting sound design in the like lab where you had like goo screaming. I actually thought they did a good job of trying to emotionally connect you to like test tubes and liquids and goo. Oh, that's interesting. From Fire Sign 331 Pod. What if it's Girardi?
I have thought about that a bit.
But why would it be? Like Girardi could just literally talk to Girardi. She's just hanging out in front of the anomaly. I mean, I'm serious. You even have like what do you call it? Shaw mentioned that goes not the nice Borg but the real mean Borg. They're so like I don't know. It's just one of those things where I'm hoping. I still want every time I watch this show, I go like I just want it to. I want explosions of like, oh my god, it blows my mind because they set it up pretty well. All 3 seasons, they've set up so well.
Yeah. I wanted to move to the Data Lore LaForge kind of B story of this episode, which I thought we got some really beautiful moments between Brett Spiner and as Lore / Data. I thought there was some really great performance moments. And then I think the connection between Data and Geordi LaForge was also really emotional at times. And so I appreciated having some of those moments, but it also felt like such a handbrake in an action sequence at times that I was like, oh, I want space to have this situation and not in the middle of a shootout.
No, I hear you. Like I was watching it and I was like, and I was going, do cybernetic eyes tear up? And then my wife goes like, well, he doesn't have eyes. He doesn't have eyes. He has tear ducts. And I go, fair point.
I'm with you, Myrriah. I think the pairing of having people run through the station, shooting at each other and dropping force fields and yelling, and having this, what I would probably call a tender moment between Geordi and Data, and with Lore standing in between. It kind of felt like it almost tried to rush it a little bit. That being said, and I admit I'm biased, I thought LeVar Burton's portrayal was absolutely amazing.
Yeah,
and I felt it. Like I absolutely felt it. Like he's in this moment where he's basically pleading for his daughter's life. And I connected with that. Like I was like, that is one of the realest things that have happened in this episode is, that helped me move away from the fact that you plugging Lore / Data / B4 / Sung all into the Titan was the dumbest thing that you could have ever done. And better, right? Like but then again, it's on the lines of, why did you have a bird of prey with a cloaking device just connected? Like, these are things that, like, I was like, but the portrayal in that moment that connected. What I didn't quite understand is, like, lore a little bit. Like, the whole idea of, like, the enemy of my enemy is the idea of the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Mhm.
No, man. Like, Vedic will destroy you just as easily the first chance she gets, right? Like, that is not your friend. She's no interest in you. She'll blow the whole ship up with you on it, and it's game over.
Not to be the defender of the only hero on the show, like, lore, but to be fair, they're all talking about not an hour ago, talking about how do we erase lore.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but Lore's gonna die anyway. This is the best chance that, like, for him not to. So, like, it's
last grasp at death.
It's
fair.
He's got control of the ship.
Yeah,
he's got full control of the ship.
Like, all he needs to do is like, he could simply just beam everyone off
and be gone, be done.
Except for the fact that the Shrike is right there.
Yeah.
So
I did wonder, like, they kind of quickly dismissed that apparently Raffi and Worf are off on, like, another away mission. Mm-hmm. And I was like, they didn't have them stick around to, like, go get Riker and off the Shrike while they had them off the ship. That felt like the obvious two pairings, like, two people to go do that.
How would you find the Shrike, though?
The Shrike attached to the ship. Or they sent a
shuttle.
A shuttle.
They sent a shuttle over. They said no. See, and that was the other thing that was interesting to me.
How did all those extra changelings get over when they didn't do
big shuttle?
Multiple shuttles.
They only had, like, some come out. So were they all just, like, hanging out in the shuttle until they called them?
I mean, they're changelings, so they may not take up a whole lot of space in the shuttle. So maybe they all got in there. It's hard to know. But here's an interesting tidbit. Like, we've seen this before. Like, when Commander Laren,
mm-hmm.
when her ship came over again, they took a shuttle. Mm-hmm. There's something about the transporter that does not work for the changelings. Like, they've mentioned, because this is the second time she's like, no transporters, shuttles.
It was Ro Laren saying she doesn't trust the transporters because she thinks something's happening with the transporters. Like, they are switching into changelings when they beam on board.
Well, she didn't want them either. She didn't want to use them either.
Yeah.
And, like, in that episode where she dies, like, 2 changelings beam on board to make 4 before Jack kills them.
Mm-hmm.
True.
But whatever the case, like, I do feel that there are just things that I'm not understanding, right? Like, people are making a lot of choices that I don't understand. And I'm willing, like, this is like episode 7, and I've gotten 6 pretty good episodes, Like, I think I've been very vocal about how much I'm enjoying the season. And, if this one is the one that, like, kind of has a bump, it's fine. Like, it's fine. But, I just hope it makes sense.
Same. I will say I'm going to be really sad if Jack is not Jack and I don't get to see Jack and Sydney have, like, a cute little romance moment at some point. Because if you're not going to give me Raffi and 7, then I need something.
Yeah, but now he's creepy. Like, I mean...
But is he used, like, his powers to, like, help her in the end? Yeah. I mean, he used them a little creepily to be like, I'll touch your hand in this elevator.
I mean, then the red eyes, like, I'm sorry. Like, I don't... Red, like, if your eyes are glowing red, the sexiness is gone. Just,
I don't know.
I'm not at that point.
I tell my wife all the time, that, like, hey, we've been married for 20 years. If you're an alien, you can tell me. You can tell me. I'm in it. If you're a witch,
out of here.
you can tell me. Like if you're a secret, like, heiress, you could tell me. I think I've proven the test now. Like,
hey, to all our listeners, like this is a moment that you want to, like, if you have a notepad, write it down. Pillow Talk by Paul. Like, get your notes out. Pay attention. He's giving you golden nuggets here, man.
That's right. Like, imagine us just eating breakfast, like, and then I just look over and go, just so you know, if you're a witch or an alien, you can let me know. Like, I'm totally on board. Back to Cheerios.
As someone who has lived with Paul and his wife in Los Angeles before, I can tell you this is pretty standard conversation for this Hitachi household.
I'm serious. This is right. I'm taking notes. Where's my notepad? I'm getting schooled here by somebody who's been in the game for a minute. He knows what's up.
I would love for you to try that on your missus. Like, just like have breakfast with your whole family. Like, you're eating breakfast or meal, and then just go, hey, babe.
If you're a changeling, you can tell me.
Or like, I'm still in, babe. I'm still in.
And I can see the look on the face right now. Just
what?
We'll all send you our couples.
What is wrong with you?
That's right. If anyone need any marriage advice, Star Trek marriage advice in particular, just let me know.
Followed by my daughter going, Dad, you're so weird.
Yeah, that seems like that would track.
I wanted to kind of the big question that gets set up at the top of this episode by Dr. Crusher is her sort of moral dilemma of, if I can find a way to identify these particular changelings in a way that could possibly harm them, are we okay with that? And I thought that was interesting coming off of the heels of them essentially being like, I mean, in both these episodes, last episode and this one, the changelings are essentially like, hey, like, we are doing this because you did a bunch of, for lack of a better term, fucked up shit to the changelings. Sure. And so it's like, I find it interesting they're trying to pose this question now, and I wonder if it's going to, I'm assuming it's going to come into play later, because by the end of it, they're able to identify a certain trace, like chemical element, mineral that exists within them that they can then ID and track them. So yeah, what did y'all think of Crusher's sort of veering into the dark side, if you will?
Well, I mean, I will say that you can scan for people like, oh, how many Vulcans are there on that ship? Like, so like to say that you can't identify via species is not canon, right? Like, but maybe you can't target, like, because that's like a metagenic weapon kind of thing. And I get that. And normally I would say this is not consistent with Beverly Crusher. That said, this is 30 plus years, like 20 plus years, right? And she's lived a very different life. And I might not know Beverly the same way I used to know her. So I accept that. Where I don't accept is when Picard goes, yeah, we might have to kill her.
Oh, damn. He's like holding that phaser. He is ready. I feel like Picard is really jumping the gun on a lot of decisions this season.
That's right. He's still integrating with the positronic matrix.
So, Paul, I agree with you. I think the thing that's different is this isn't the Beverly we know, right?
Yeah.
So from episode 1, from the very episode of this season,
that shotgun phaser scene,
yeah. The thing that's different is Beverly is in protective mama bear mode.
Mama bear mode. That's right.
Right. Like at the end of the day, like anything that we think about Beverly Crusher, her son, they're coming for her son. She's been in a heightened state of stress and anxiety
for months
and fight mode for months.
Yeah, no.
Right. And so she's looking at this. I don't even think this is largely about changelings and the Federation for her. Yeah, this is about what do I have to do to keep my son safe. And so I think you have to understand that. But Myrriah, to your point, I guess I'm waiting for Picard to be Picard, right? Like what I'm used to, and again, maybe I'm still stuck back in TNG. I'm used to your captain having the answers, and even when they're struggling, they ultimately have the answer. Something triggers that they're the ultimate source of wisdom. Yeah, I'm not getting that from this dude right now. Like,
no, but he's Admiral retired. Like the person you should be looking to is Shaw.
I mean, I was gonna say I kind of missed Shaw a lot in this episode.
Right. Back to the Shaw bandwagon.
I'm gonna agree. I needed more Shaw in this.
I needed a little resistance. Everything was too like, this is the plan and it's gonna work. And I was like, from the minute I saw them coming on board, I was like, I don't know if this is gonna work because I didn't hear Shaw telling me this is gonna work. Do you know what I mean? I have now come to trust Shaw. And I also didn't have like Seven telling me this is, I was like, I didn't have that round table moment where they discuss the idea of the plan, where it's like montage as they're discussing it and it's happening, in like an Ocean's 11 kind of way, which I know is very overdone, but I wanted like a little bit of it.
Yeah, like Steve with the Nechayev deep cut there. I just want to recognize, yes, she's definitely a changeling now.
So I would say, Myrriah, to your point, there's I remember I was working for a company. And they were big on like the 6 thinking hats. And the idea is that everyone in the room, you should be thinking about these different type of hats, right? Mm-hmm. And one of the hats is this black hat, right? Which can get overdone, but your job is kind of to poke holes. Because if you got everybody's like, oh yeah, this is going to work. This is going to work. You need a voice in the room that goes, hey, wait, can we poke holes in a second and think about why it might not work and address those? That has been Shaw, right? And I've come to appreciate the fact that Shaw isn't like what Shaw reminds me of constantly is this isn't the 80s and 90s in utopic federation where everything's going to work out and everybody's okay. And even if you break the rules, you're doing it with the right spirit. So it's always going to be great. Shaw is like, hey, can we talk about the other side of this coin? Can we address the things that were just not spoken? Can we poke holes in this idea? And we didn't have that. And I think, I hate to say it, but what I've kind of grown accustomed to in the last 6 episodes is Shaw is the voice of somewhat reason in some of this, and not just, well, we're the good guys, so it's gonna work. And I feel like if we had that, maybe I would have been like, there's no way they're on that ship, right? Because when they showed up, and I was like, the minute that there's like, oh, it's the Titan, it's something's happened, it's
Myrriah, you're killing it. You're killing it, Myrriah.
But my thought was like, there's no way they're on that ship. Like, this is a trap, but they're not there. They're somewhere else. And the minute I saw Sydney and Jack running, I was like, well, this is the dumbest idea ever. This will never work.
For the listeners, I just put up a banner that says Shaw was right. It'll be.
And all I say,
stress VK. Picard has even taken over Shaw's ready room off the bridge.
Really right. I would say, Clyde, and if you just take a few steps further, you can join me at Laura's table.
No,
Laura messed up so much stuff this episode, and I was just mostly mad because I feel like maybe Clyde, you brought this up, like, Vedic is gonna get rid of you, Lore, the minute she has the opportunity, or you're just gonna become a weapon of mass destruction and probably get blown up along with it. Like I don't feel like she's really out to preserve android history in any way.
Transport everybody out in the middle of space, take the ship and run, dude.
Yeah. Well, it's gonna be interesting.
He's getting there. Like, I hope the ending of the series is Laura finally, like, he goes like, thank you for recognizing I was right, everyone.
Do you think? Okay, all right. It's
for serious.
It's no. It is
Myrriah theory. But Myrriah prediction. Yeah, that's right.
Myrriah prediction time. What if we get a fully integrated data, lore, all of the things? The mind somehow works, because if there's an engineer who's going to make that happen, it's Geordi freaking LaForge, right?
Sure.
Like with many LaForges to help. Like, it's the power of the LaForge is about to happen. LaForge cubed, and they are going to integrate his positronic brain, and so then we finally have a fully formed human version of Data.
Yeah, that's called lore. Yes,
but it's
like,
not. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like if you mix evil Captain Kirk and good Captain Kirk to get Captain Kirk. So,
yes, exactly.
So basically, a fully realized Data.
Yeah,
I think that's inevitable in the sense that, like, why else would you put characters like that in it? Like, lore can't beat data, right?
Stress, okay, but even a little lore will ruin your day. It's just, I don't know why that made me laugh.
VK, you've been doing so well, but I will not have you besmirch, my positronic buddy. Data with a goatee. I like that. That.
Data with a goatee. We get Mirrorverse Data. That could be fun. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do.
That'd be awesome to watch Mirrorverse Data. but yeah. But I think that they'll need to do that probably. I mean, I assume they will, just because it's a classic fight, and there's like, even Jodie said, like, in this episode, like, Picard said, like, why would you put these two together? And then Jodie goes, well, because maybe he was hoping that, like, they'd figure it out. And so I feel like they hopefully figure it out. I guess maybe.
One will hope. We have 3 episodes to do so.
Yeah, I mean, what I found though is, like, with a lot of series, like, it actually doesn't require that much to wrap stuff up. There's 36 hours left, right? Something's going to happen.
Yeah, for sure.
So my only, like I said before, my only concern is that it's earned. Like, I want it to be earned. Whatever you do, just have the wrist person, like, be worth it. I can't think of someone who's gonna be worth it right now. But, like, if it's worth it, I'm all in. I go, this is the most amazing season ever. But
here's the thing about the 36 hours. It doesn't really feel like 36 hours, because this is the series finale we're talking about, which in most cases it feels like what we're really talking about is you got 2 episodes left, right? You've got episode 8, then you got the penultimate episode where most of the action is going to take place.
You have to wrap up,
and then you wrap up in episode 10. So I feel like whatever's going to happen is we're crescendoing next episode. We're resolving that crescendo, that conflict in episode 9. And episode 10 is the wrap this up in a way that the Star Trek fans, who are extremely vocal and critical of everything, won't revolt on you, right? Protect the legacy.
I don't think you'll get that all in episode 10. I think you'll get that in act 5 of episode 10. Like, right. It'll be a very long act 5. But I don't think it's going to be a whole ep for that wrap up, but because that would be very generous time wise.
But wouldn't you be worried though? Because this is Star Trek, right? Like, you're talking about fans that, these are fans.
Yeah, there's like a new thing for me to sign to keep some show on air, off air, or come to air every week, right?
Yeah. So I'm looking at them and going, like, aren't you, like, as a writer, as a producer, aren't you a little bit worried? Like, you have to protect the brand a bit, and you got to land this thing. Whatever you do, whatever's happening here on out, you got to land this thing in a way that allows you to print merchandise, encourage people to come to cons. Like,
I actually
write more
hope
books.
I would hope the writers and producers are not thinking of that, because I'd rather them be thinking about how they can tell the best story. And that's what I would hope they're thinking about. But I get your point, Clyde. Like, I think that is weighing on, like, those top of mind folks. But I think that's why they're also like today they just announced we're getting an Academy series, which I'm pretty excited about, seemingly taking place in the Discovery era of the future, which I think will be really cool.
Tilly.
Go Tilly, that's right.
Yeah, go Tilly. And Tawny Newsom's writing on the series. So I think that also bodes well for all of it. And what else was I going to say? Oh, someone in the chat was like, are we going to talk about Tuvok? Which we did earlier, but it was revealed on the Ready Room that he's going to be in next week's episode as well. Or at least he's in 2 episodes. I guess I don't know if it's next week's. It could be later down the line.
He's looking old, but he is 160 something.
We're running out of cameos, are we not? Who we got left?
Janeway. We've said her name. The name has been dropped too many times.
Admiral Janeway.
Admiral Janeway.
Listen, if
you know, it would be really cool if we got a weird if we got a Prodigy Picard crossover at the very end. I wouldn't be upset about it.
Well, here's the thing: because she's on Prodigy, I'm expecting it.
Yeah.
Right. It's not like a Avery Brooks thing where I'm like, we're not getting.
We're asking, and it's never going to happen.
It's never going to happen, right? Like, but Janeway's already involved. Like, she's hanging out with the writer. She's in this world.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm expecting for us to see her. I'm trying to figure out who else might we see.
Because I need that Voyager theme song to coincide with me seeing Seven on screen with Janeway, and I need it to happen.
Yeah, no.
I can cry about it.
Well, I mean, here's another thought. Like, will we see Chakotay?
I don't think so.
I would have to look at how the dates are lining up. I'm wondering if they're like, oh, Admiral Janeway isn't around because she's out looking for Chakotay, and that's why.
Well, I mean, the only reason why I bring him up is because he's another voice that we've heard on Prodigy, right?
Well, I mean, like, I guess where is Prodigy in relationship to Picard in timeline?
I don't know that off the top of my head, so I will do some homework and come back about it. Yeah, I'd have to look that up to be sure about the dates. I feel like anyway, I don't know. I'm going to misspeak as soon as I say something, so I'll just hold that information and I'll tweet about it later. So you can follow me on Twitter at Myrriah Gossett, and I'm sure the Star Trek Pod account will retweet it because I will tag it.
I was just thinking of one last thing, like as far as like the hand person, like the way that they sound, they do not sound like Borg. Like they talk like not Borg. They talk like someone with a lot of emotion. So you know, I don't know what that means, but like, you know, so I suspect that it is not Borg.
Oh, I got one.
Oh, well, come on, Clyde. If you say peanut hamper, I'm Venmoing money right now.
No. What if it is someone from the Q continuum? I'm not necessarily saying it's Q specifically, but what if it is someone from the Q continuum?
But aren't they like not supposed to mess with everything this much?
Yeah, but Q does stuff all the time.
And then my second, like, if it's someone from the Q continuum, they could just, you know,
I'm just trying to go back into Star Trek villain history and going, who have been some of the big villains that we haven't seen in a while.
Dukat.
Dukat's stuck in
earlier.
Dukat's stuck in like a power wraith jail.
Yeah, that's true. I'm not sure. We have more again, like we said at the top, more questions than answers. But was there anything else y'all wanted to dive into about this particular episode?
I think we're good. I think, you know, like this was as you said, I have complex feelings about this episode.
Yeah, agreed.
I'm ready for 8.
I am also ready for 8.
Iconians, thank you, Jay. Thank you.
Iconians.
They're dead.
Thank you, Keen, for someone doing some Googling. Memory Alpha says Prodigy is 2384, so 16 years before Picard.
Oh, okay. So Chakotay could be back, and
could be back.
Yeah, but I agree.
That would be a spoiler for Prodigy, but
that's what Kang said. It might spoil Prodigy.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll see.
Good to know. I think that is it for us tonight, y'all. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. We will be back next week to talk about the 8th episode of Picard with another live stream and episode in the feeds, which I've been trying to put out on Sundays. So you guys can subscribe there. Rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. We appreciate it. Visit StarTrekPod.co to get links to everywhere you can listen and or watch, as well as to our Patreon. Clyde, where can people find us on Twitter?
You can find us at Star Trek Pod. Thanks to Karen, who runs our Twitter. What's up, Karen?
We appreciate you. We will see you all next time. Live long and prosper. Bye-bye.
Also, if anyone uses my alien line, just let me know how it goes.
Yep. Let us know.
And between now and then, don't forget to run a diagnostic on your warp coils.
Do it. Bye.
Bye.